Hello and welcome to the God is a Geek podcast, episode 486. And people watching or listening at home will never know how close I was to just choking on a glass of water the second the podcast theme ended. My name's Adam Cook, I'm your host, and I'm joined by Mr. Christopher Hyde. Hello, Chris.
Oh, so I know it was funny. It depended how long that cough was going to go on for. I was like, is he going to be the professional we know he is? And you smashed it. So
he is, but his eyes are watering a little bit. So if you could just say hello to Lyle Carr so I can put the camera off me for a second. Hello, Lyle.
Hi there. I didn't choke on anything before we started recording. That's a nice little cough going on in the background there.
I actually I muted that so no one else would
Damn
have heard
it.
that but you.
Oh, no, now I just look like I'm sort of hearing things and yeah.
Oh, wow. No, how is everyone? Everyone's good? Everyone's good?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. It's an interesting week because I feel like we've gone from where we were almost discussing like maybe we should just have a week off because there's not really a lot to talk about. And then as I was sort of preparing for it, I just started realizing there's games I've played that we haven't even mentioned, like Vampire: The Masquerade Blood Hunt, which we can talk about in a bit. You know, I was interested to play that, but let's just jump into you, Mr. Hyde. Sorry. With what have you been up to this week?
So
past week, sorry.
I have been playing Rogue Legacy 2. So I don't know if it's preview or early access. Itted it. God, I don't know how long ago it was when it first sort of emerged as a thing. Years ago, months ago. It seems like a long time ago anyway when I first played this game, but it's now fully released on PC, and so I've been giving it a bash. And yeah,
it was 2020, by the way.
It was years, so I was right.
It was August 2020, remarkably.
A long time ago.
Wow.
I really like this game. Really, really like this game. I don't know how much either of you have played or how much of the original you guys have played. I think Lyle liked it, if I'm remembering correctly.
No, you are incorrect. I sort of thought it was... I didn't really like the original. I kind of didn't really like how it controlled, and I also I think I usually like my roguelikes to be a bit more like each run you could win, as opposed to each run you'll get a little granularly stronger.
Yeah. Whereas it was my kind of, I want to say PS Vita game when I went.
Yeah.
Last time I went on holiday, which tells you everything about when I last went on holiday. That game was out, and it was my game of choice. I never finished it. I hate to be negative, but I think this game suffers a little bit from the same thing the first one suffers from, but in a different way. And I'm curious as to if I know you like it, but I'm curious. It's not that I don't. I do like it actually. I played a little bit of this one as well.
Okay, so yeah, right. So I completely misread the room, which is very, very like
no, I do like it. I just think so. Like Rogue Legacy 1, for want of a better name, because it's not called that. It kind of was compared to other games in the genre, like your Spelunkies and stuff, I guess. Would be the closest one. And it's weird because I don't get this feeling from when I'm playing Rogue Legacy 2 of this, but when like I'm watching footage back, like the stuff you're seeing, like if you're watching the video version, I feel like they've kind of cribbed from a different one now, and it's kind of more Dead Cells. But the issue I've got is that while I like Rogue Legacy 1 and indeed Rogue Legacy 2, the games that they crib from are better than these. Which again is not to say they're bad, but like the way you can smash through doors and the sort of progression of Rogue Legacy 2 feels like they've really not lent into, but kind of taken note of Dead Cells a bit.
I mean, it does feel a bit more like Dead Cells than Rogue Legacy does, but I think that's a positive. If I'm sitting there thinking I'm enjoying this like Dead Cells, and to be really clear, no, and to be really clear, this is more like Rogue Legacy than any of those other games. It's not like I'm not sitting there going, "Oh, they've moved so far away from any of this." If people liked, or like Lyle, didn't like Rogue Legacy 1,
yes,
I don't think this game does enough to say, "Oh, well, it's gonna convince the non-believers." To your point, Lyle, the thing you don't like about it in terms of the iterative progress, that's still there.
Still there.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you are some sort of wizard, you are not going to beat this on your first go. You're not going to do a perfect run. You know, this is a game designed to see how far you can get. You learn a lot about what's going on. You fail, but you do progress. And I actually that's more the roguelike that I prefer, because I know I'm never going to be the person that's going to do them in one go anyway. And there are certain roguelikes that punish you for death, in the sense of there can be runs where you are nothing. And it's like, if you don't do certain things or achieve certain things, it's like, well, that was a waste of time. And Rogue Legacy, probably even more so than Dead Cells, it's a bit like Hades in that respect, that everything you will get something. Hades is probably the best comparison in terms of like progress, because you're always collecting something that will contribute to.
But don't you feel like it's an amalgam of those two, but not quite as good as either? And again, I'm not saying it's shit, to be absolutely clear. Like, there's more to this. There's more to Rogue Legacy 2 than the first one. Like, it's a bigger, more complete game. They've iterated upon it well.
Yes, they have, whilst it's still being Rogue Legacy.
Yes.
I just think it's really unfair to say, well, it's not Hades or Dead Cells, and so therefore, because. And I know that's not quite what you're saying, but it also is, in the sense that it's the elephant in the room.
But there's also, it's rare you get examples in a genre that are like, what you're not saying is, oh, I don't think that Dead Cells and Hades are the pinnacle of the genre. You're not saying that, because I know that's not what you think. But it's rare that you get such sort of two examples that are just like, bang, they are the ones in a genre that I don't think it's been whatever you want to call the genre now, because I think with Rogue Legacy 2 as well, like I noticed in the review Chris called it a Metroidvania, and I didn't remove it or change it because he'd played more than me. But they are blending. They're starting to blend slightly, because you get abilities in Rogue Legacy 2 that allow you to.
Unless it changes dramatically, I've not played it. I wouldn't call it a Metroidvania.
I wouldn't, but I hadn't reviewed it, and it's one of those where I know you get skills and abilities that change.
Yes, yeah,
see what I mean?
Talk about that
and that's more of a Metroidvania-y kind of trope.
It is.
I mean, they call it a roguelite, a light, L-I-T-E. That's what they call it, but
it's called Rogue Legacy. Let's be really clear on it. The reason it's called Rogue Legacy is because it's a roguelite, and it's built upon the whole principle of it is like, you know, you die and then you're the heir of the person that's died, right? So you're carrying on the legacy. That's literally, I mean, the story's going. That's literally it. I mean, there is more effort of the story this time around.
Much more, yeah.
Essentially, that's what it is. I mean, my personal opinion. We won't get into the argument of it today. That might even happen another day. I think Rogue Legacy, and therefore by extension Rogue Legacy 2, are really, really strong examples of the genre.
I agree.
We can argue the puts and takes of the Hades and the Dead Cells and the Binding of Isaacs of this world, I guess, in terms of where people position themselves in terms of what they prefer. I think Rogue Legacy was a really solid example of how to do that type of game well, and I think Rogue Legacy 2 knows its strengths, and so has kept a lot of that. Looks a lot nicer, obviously, because the previous one had a very kind of almost pixelated retro style, where they've very much gone for a kind of lovely kind of cartoony aesthetic that looks just looks really nice. It's a bit like the Nobody Saves the World type of style. It just looks really nice. The lighting's really nice and stuff. The stuff they have iterated, like I said, the main thing that you'll notice, you kind of touched on it, is the abilities that you unlock. I thought when I played the preview of this, or whatever we want to call it, 2 years ago,
the early access
piece, there was, you could unlock some of these. They're like, you have to do little trials to unlock these extra abilities.
That's right.
And the first one is like being able to dash in midair, which when I first started playing the game, I was like, why can't I dash in midair? I don't like it. It's like I'm constrained. But like, it's one of the first ones you unlock, and you have a little part of the trial is the tutorial of learning how to use it, right? So it's quite effective in how it does it. And then there's other couples of ones you unlock to help you kind of progress certain parts of dungeons and overcome certain obstacles. But what it ends up becoming is the game itself is split into different areas with a boss in each area. And from what I've played so far, which is exploring like areas 1, 2, and 3, it seems to be after the first couple of abilities that you seem to unlock at random early on, then you have to kind of get to a new area to unlock that new ability, which basically allows you to traverse that new area. So it starts off, and in the preview, as I'm sure I said this when the early access said, this is a really cool thing. Like, you're going to unlock lots of different new abilities, and that's going to be really exciting. And the one thing I will say is it feels like that's why I wouldn't call it a Metroidvania, because it's not like I'm unlocking it randomly, then going back to an area. I'm almost unlocking the ability to explore the area in front of me. And so therefore, what that means is then when I die, and I will die, I don't have to refine that skill that I've got. I can just go back to that area and explore it freely. And so I wouldn't call it a Metroidvania. But like I say, that might mix and match later on in the game, and be more of a backtrack over all areas. So from what I've seen, I was a little bit disappointed with that aspect, because at the start of the game, I thought, there's going to be loads of these, and it's random whether I encounter one. And if I encounter one, it's going to be really exciting. And if, that kind of like, almost like random nature of things. If you encounter it, great, I'll lock this one in. I'll really try to nail this trial, because if I do, then I'm going to unlock something which is going to make the next few runs easier. Unless I've had really bad luck, that's not been my experience of the first few worlds. It seems to be, no, you unlock this thing to progress in the new area that you've just unlocked. So that was slightly disappointing, because I feel like that maybe could have been better. But the movement around the game is smoother. The selection or breadth of enemies is better and more annoying than before. Look, it's always going to be one of those games. It's all about patience. It's a bit like what we said about Elden Ring. If you rush in, and you'll make mistakes.
Yeah,
and you'll take damage or die because you've been a bit of an idiot, and that tends to be when I die. Either I've gone in gung ho, or I'm going to a new area and don't know what I'm doing. But it's just got that I want to play one more.
See, that's what I'm missing. So I'm properly missing that in this one. It's just not pulling me through.
I can't get enough of it. Like when I'm playing it, I'm like, I just want to have one more go, see if I can do that boss, or see if I, because
I just don't feel like I'm playing this is, again, I do like it, but the reason I'm not getting that is because every time I play it, I don't feel like I'm getting any sort of an experience I wasn't getting before, if that makes sense. Like, I remember playing it in early access back in 2020, and it's like, the bones of it were there. Like, there was a lot missing that they've added, but like the bones of it were there. Like the sort of base building out, the merchants in the base, and that it was all there. I appreciate that I haven't followed it as closely as someone who's like mega into the development of it, but it's just all right for me. Like, I would probably rather play Hades or Dead Cells again, because to me this doesn't quite feel new, because it sort of isn't. Like, it's that early access problem, really, and that's not their problem, it's my problem. But...
I mean, it feels new to me, and certainly newer than replaying an old game. I mean, I guess if it doesn't, if you're not getting that one more time feeling, then it's really not like, that's literally the whole point of these types of games.
No, I'll do a couple of runs and I'm like,
progression. If you're not getting the vibe of, okay, now I feel like I'm going to be a little bit stronger. I've unlocked something I want to now, a new character type, and I want to explore how they control, and try and figure out if I can get a new way of playing with them. All that stuff interests me. And I think coming off, having played Rogue Legacy, some of the basics, which I think helps. I think if you were going in this blind, you might have a bit more of a barrier to entry in terms of like I said, that patience factor, knowing what to expect and not letting death, I guess, annoy you as much as because I remember when I played it when it came out. God, was it PS Plus? I think is when I played Rogue Legacy. Because I'm a cheapskate, and I remember the first few times I died on that, I was like, I am just not good enough for this game. Like, because you
2013,
like, well,
by the way.
What's that?
2013.
Yeah. Well,
wow is right.
What's that?
Wow is right.
Yeah. Makes me feel very old. That's nearly 10 years ago.
What? I don't know. Like I don't. I just there's an element in this game that a lot of games do, and it's kind of a Dark Souls thing. Like you have so you finish your run and you got your currency and you build up whatever you want to put it into. Whatever you want to do, and then to start your new run, you have to give your money back to Charon, don't you? Like to.
Yeah, only what you don't spend. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I know it sounds really silly and petty, perhaps, but like when you've got like 30 gold left, which is not enough to do anything with, it's just like, why is that in here? Why is that a thing? Why is that in here? Like, I know they did it before, and I know that loads of games do it, and they certainly aren't the only person that does it. Why are games becoming so focused on taking things away from you? Like, it's a thing. It kind of, when games try to be like Souls-likes almost, and you've played them. You've played these games where they're trying to be Souls-likes, but they totally get the wrong message of why people enjoy Souls itself, Elden Ring or Dark Souls or Bloodborne. But they've taken the hard and punishing, fuck them. Right? They've taken that, and that's the message they've taken. And I feel like people are still taking messages and learnings from those games, but they are absolutely missing the point. Like, it's never been about punishment, Dark Souls. It's always been about learning, pattern recognition, and stuff like that. The punishments is more of a, it's carrot and stick thing. But like so in a game like this where they take things off of you, whether you got 33 or 403, you just didn't spend it or you forgot or whatever, I don't get it. I don't understand why games are, not this game, it's a wider problem, but games are becoming so sort of preoccupied with punishing you and taking things away from you. I just don't. What would it hurt the game if you could go into the next run with all your money that you had left over?
I mean,
if you're still shit, you're not going to get any extra. You're still not going to get any more. You're still going to.
Well, you are if it keep. I guess you are. I guess there's two things. One, I guess you would. I mean, there's nothing to stop it for the game, I suppose, from rebalancing it so you don't quite get as much money, knowing that you're going to be able to save it. I guess the view I've always taken with it is it encourages you to go, okay. It forces the iterative progression, doesn't it? Because it forces
because you won't end a run with the exact amount of money you need to do the exact amount of things you want to do. You have to then go through another run, or you've not got quite enough. It just seems.
But what it does do is it forces you to iteratively progress and invest. Because if you,
but you can still do that.
No, I know you can. But if your money never leaves you, you could just go straight for another run. And I won't. I'll just keep hoarding money.
Why would that be bad?
What's that?
Why would that be a bad thing?
Well, I'm not saying it would be a bad thing. I'm saying this game is built around iteratively progressing, and if you just take away the mechanic that forces you to do it, then in my opinion, it would damage that side of it. I'm not saying that it's not a deal breaker for me. Whether Karen's there or he's not, I don't think that for me that's I wouldn't. If it wasn't in Rogue Legacy 2, I wouldn't go, that's like
I said, it's a petty thing. It's a silly thing. I'm noticing more and more games are leaning in towards the sort of removing things from you and punishing, and I'm the oldest here, but I'm not that much older than you, and games are supposed to be fun first and foremost. And like there's all different forms of fun. How you are?
And I find it really fun.
That's cool, and that's something. There are all. I like difficult games. I'm just getting a bit tired of stuff being taken off me. We should talk about another game because we're definitely not going to agree.
Definitely not going to agree on this one.
Although I say I do like it, I just don't think it's incredible.
I'm kind of interested to see what side I fall on, but I do think the fact that I'm generally lean more towards the Spelunkies and Binding of Isaacs than
I think you'll fall off it quickly.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to change minds.
It's the wrong type of roguelike for you.
Yeah,
it might surprise you, but if you fell off Rogue Legacy,
I don't
think there's enough here to make you go game changer. There's a lot of similarities.
I'm going to give it a go though. We'll see.
Maybe I'm just soulsed out, and all those souls things are just grating. I don't know.
Maybe you just need a really happy, cathartic Zen co-op experience.
Oh yes,
Adam.
Chris. What? Oh, Christ, I nearly called you Chris White. Fucking hell. Oh
well,
yes,
I was going to
Chris
lead
Hyde.
you into talking.
No.
I've been
oh
talking
yes,
for a
Chris.
while.
Chris Hyde. What game might that be?
I don't know. What have you been playing, Adam?
Oh, we're doing me. Okay. Well, Astroneer's back in the rotation.
Jesus Christ! Could you say it with less enthusiasm?
Well, no, because like I got like 100% of the gamer score for this, and I genuinely was sad
That's
when
what
I did.
we do, though, isn't it? When we co-op games, we just go.
It kind of is, but it was also more of a like. I don't know. I almost felt like sad because that was probably it. If that makes sense, like this is nothing.
Absolutely.
There really wasn't more to do at that stage. We had sort of been everywhere, seen everything, and done everything.
Yeah,
but they've added a significant amount of content actually, which is impressive. Because
Yeah.
part of me was like thinking, go make Astroneer 2 or something.
Yeah.
But they've added a significant amount of content, including like sort of tutorial methods, like to ease people into the new game, and we bought a server so we could continue, like, so it's a persistent world. I don't want to spend hours and hours talking about this because we've talked about it quite a bit on the pod anyway. It's just like I'm really impressed with how much they've added and how they've sort of iterated upon it.
I was really impressed with the tutorial stuff,
Yes.
like the way they've revamped it. Because, like, I remember when I first started, and there is like missions like, right now go here. Here's what a tether is, which keeps your oxygen up so you don't die. Here's how you farm resources. So there was a tutorial before you started in the original, the game before they kind of reworked it, before they updated it. But I really think they've clearly taken a step back and gone, this could be improved.
Yes.
They've clearly taken on feedback. And I've thought the sort of mission-based, well, if you do this, then you'll figure out how to do this, and we'll reward you with this. I think that's a really clever way.
I do have concerns over that, though, because I feel like one of the things about Astroneer that was genuinely brilliant for us the first time was that it was so much... This is what No Man's Sky, and this is how I ended up back on it, essentially. No Man's Sky is the game I kind of think I want in my head, but Astroneer is the game I actually want, because No Man's Sky is too broad, whereas this has things you can do, but within reason and within limit. And I think by adding the mission structure, and it's early days, so I'm not saying this with absolute confidence, but it's early days, the mission structure feels like it kind of makes it a bit linear, whereas really it's anything but it does lead you down the garden path a little bit, and I'm not clear that if I personally... I liked the way we discovered... It felt organic, whereas I think by literally saying to someone, do this, you remove the organic nature, which was already there. They kind of hit the jackpot of that it worked. It was organic.
Yeah, I think...
I'm not saying that. I'm not confident.
I think yes, although we blatantly looked stuff up to make it not as linear as we wanted in that moment. So we were like
getting that mini RTG, which will mean nothing to anyone who hasn't played it, but like seeing
that
as an unlock was like, what? Now I don't think it. I haven't investigated it fully.
It's not the same thing.
No, it isn't. It's more like a miniature version.
It's a literal miniature version,
but
it's
it
not
still
the same
feels
thing
like. I think we would have been 20 hours deep before we had any way of being sustainable away from base.
It makes certain things that we're going to have to do in the next few playable hours a little bit easier because it's less faffing, right? Because if you want to set up a power on another planet, then it's going to be a lot easier than burning organic or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I was thinking about this earlier actually because I was like, like thinking about No Man's Sky and Astroneer and stuff, and I was like, right, I think it's really interesting. Like Astroneer just seems to be like the perfect sweet spot in the Venn diagram of what we all want. When we're playing co-op games, because like we've played Satisfactory, and I think that's very much in my Venn diagram.
Satisfactory's closer to Astroneer than yeah.
But then I would argue that No Man's Sky could have been nearer you. Yep. With like cars and spaceships and exploration and stuff.
It's too much.
But it's too much, and it's the co-op's crap. So that we had to just bin that and go, well, nice experiment, but no. And then we've come back to Astroneer and gone, it's the perfect in the middle. And like I say, now we've got the server and other people are joining. it's just a nice thing. And like you say, you come back to you say it so many times, but just games are fun. Gaming with other people is fun. Having a central discussion point on games is fun and it's interesting. And keep plugging our Patreons and our Discord, but we've got a fair few people now signed up for the joining the server so we can play it all at the same time. So that's going to be good fun when we get a few of us on playing together, because even a couple of people who haven't played the game before have gone, I'll have a gander now. We can all play together. So just we've talked about it a lot before. You don't want to make every podcast the Astroneer show, but a lovely game. They've added some stuff. Like I was playing it last night, and they'd added some stuff, and I was like, "What is this?
Yeah, what's going on?
What is this?" So I was discovering, and I think that's good. There's probably more of that later on as well. So yeah, I love that game. It's just so nice.
I mean, that's a hell of a segue, because the other game I've been playing is not. Well, no, it's good. It's a good game, but it's not nice.
It's not nice.
So Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, which I believe is Blood Space Hunt. I think it is actually 2 words, which I didn't know.
Video games, videogames.
Blood Hunt. No, it doesn't work. So Blood Hunt is a battle royale where you're a vampire with guns. Okay. Now, I'll preface this by saying I actually think this is a really good game, and it's I don't know. I think it's Shark Mob's debut. It might be their debut. I think it's a really good game, really well made. It's incredibly fast paced, incredibly fast paced, to the point where I can't play it. Like it's got a down but not out mechanic, but for solo. So you have lives. Like if you die, you have lives, sort of thing, and that kind of makes the battle royale-ness where it's like there's a red mist coming in on you, sort of feel a bit weird. It's mega fast. You can run up walls and stuff, infamous style or prototype style. The Masquerade thing comes in that you can find human AIs to kill, and each of them will give you a buff to certain powers. But if you're spotted doing it, you've broken the Masquerade, and then you're hunted by everyone and everything. So you sort of want to do it, but you want to do it and get not when everyone else is around. There's different different things for each human will have a different thing. You can get extra lives off of them. And
so sorry, is that the solo part or the battle royale part?
It's both. No, there is no. There's no solo game. There's no solo game. I mean, singles in battle royale singles.
In the battle royale, there's presumably other vampires, and there's just NPC people.
Yes.
And if you get spotted by another NPC person,
well, I believe there's a certain there's a weird faction, and I believe if you're spotted by them, they basically all come for you, and you're lit up on the map, and everyone knows where you are.
Right. Okay. I get that. So you're lit up on the map. Okay, that makes more sense.
and the enemy AIs that can hurt you will come for you. It's like Fortnite in other respects. There's loot everywhere, and you can pick it up and upgrade stuff and equip shields. It's kind of weird as well, because you're a vampire, but you're using an assault rifle.
I was going to ask. I presume the vampire bit's just for melee, and the melee is just eating people.
Melee weapons are melee weapons. Each class has a skill. So you can. I think each class has the jump skill, the big vampiric jump thing, where you can launch yourself across. And I think then there's a unique skill for whatever class you pick. One does this big. That you jump up in the air and do a big earthquake when you land. One does a melee, almost force push to get people away from you. And when you down people, they can properly kill you, or you can actually just get back up if you're good enough, I suppose. But they can properly kill you, but then you got to feed and get your hunger back. And it's actually everything about it's really cool. But all I was left wishing was that it was a single player game that existed with these mechanics. A co-op game where you and your vampire buddies, I'm not going to pretend I'm not on a big co-op kick at the moment, but even a single-player version of this game, with the way Titanfall had that swift movement and everything, it would be so cool. I kind of wonder about is it Redfall? I kind of wonder if Redfall's going to be a first-person version of this.
Yeah, because the things you're talking about, I can imagine, if you can imagine you were going through an area or whatever, and like you had to try and stealthily take down people, and if you did it as a duo, that'd be cool and stuff like that. That has definitely got legs.
Yeah,
you know, in that sense.
It's just so fast paced that I can't.
Have we got a montage like we did with Chris White with COD? Of you just swearing at it?
No, because I'll be honest with you, it's one of those. I kind of accept it. I'm just not quick enough for this. I believe also that a lot of people are suggesting play with cross-play off, because obviously you don't want to go up against PC players on console. Like the footage we're showing off is PS5 footage. It's a nice looking game and it controls and plays well. I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I don't think it's quite got a big enough hook that people are going to go, oh yeah, I'm not going to play Fortnite or Apex or whatever their battle royales, multiple battle royales of choice are.
Yeah, and it does feel like if you're only going to be a battle royale, that's what you're competing with, isn't it? So it's like it has to be something special. Whereas if you say there is battle royale in it, but there's also something else, then at least there might be, other people might say, okay, I'll give it a look. It's I guess in that sense, it's a bold move and sticking to what you want it to be. But
I just, like I say, with like vampire games, I don't think we actually get as many as you think.
No, we really don't.
We really don't. When you think back to like the Legacy of Kain and Soul Reavers,
it's a really good point. I roll my eyes whenever I see another vampire game, thinking, "Oh, it's like I say, another vampire." Then try and list them, and it's like
it's not so easy.
No,
and then like so, I guess that when one comes out like this and it's like a battle royale, it's like it's well made. Like there's nothing about this game I think is bad, really. I wish it was a single player game. I wish the mechanics for this game were in a single player adventure. Like I wish I wasn't having to go against human beings with like faster reactions than me and get killed repeatedly, and people who just play have more time than me to know what the mechanics are. It is what it is. But yeah, I don't think I'll play more of it, but I do think it's a good game and it is free to play. So if you're looking for a battle royale and you want a bit of vampire action, go for it. Lyle, what have you been up to?
Well, most of what I've been up to, this sounds dodgy. Most of what I've been up to, I can't talk about.
Same.
But in terms of video games, in terms of the videogamies, but so for the podcast, I played something on Game Pass because I thought that would be a nice idea. So I played Chinatown Detective Agency, which is unlike anything I've ever played, to be honest.
And you've played some weird shit.
I have. I play the weirdest and the most wonderful, and Chinatown Detective Agency is sort of unlike anything else. So it's sort of like it comes across as sort of your standard adventure game. It's set in the sort of fairly near future. I think it's 2037 specifically, and you run your own detective agency in Singapore, and so people come to you with cases and you have to solve them in the sort of adventure game style you'd expect. But the main hook, the thing that makes this so different to other games, is whereas in most adventure games you'd be like using the logic of the game to solve a problem, you'd be figuring out what the game wants you to do in the game's world. In Chinatown Detective Agency, you'll be given things, and the game openly says in the tutorial, use Google. You need to find out what these things are. This isn't a game where you're gonna be able to figure it out just by looking at the game. Like the example and what's going to be in the footage, I imagine, at some point. I don't actually watch as we're recording because I don't trust the Chromebook. But the sort of first example, one of the early cases, is you get given a stamp, and it's a real world stamp that's from a specific country, and it has another country's language on it, and you have to figure out where the stamp's from. So you have to figure out, like, okay, maybe searching for one of these words, I'll be able to get a little bit of a sense of where it's from. I literally I've been on stamp database websites now because I was looking for the solution to this puzzle in this game to find out where it's from. And like then alongside that, there was like, you also need to see where the stamp was sent from because it has a cancellation stamp on it. And I didn't know most of these postal terms at all. So to Google I went, and you're looking all these different things up.
Sorry, just to be clear, you went to Google for postal terms.
I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
Google.
Presumably,
Okay.
the one thing you don't Google is Chinatown Detective Agency walkthrough.
Yeah, that is the main issue and it did happen a little bit when I was sort of searching for like Ottoman Empire cities stamp, fairly high up in the SEO. You do have to kind of like double check that the link you're going to click on isn't just like how to beat the stamp puzzle but like it is done well enough that like you're going to be searching for things that are more vague and less connected to the game. Like you're going to be trying to figure out.
By the time I decide to play this, it's going to be fucking ruined, isn't it? Modern life has ruined the games that I game.
It's been out for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, I know, but modern life has ruined it. You're right. If you Googled like Chinatown stamp, I bet you there'd be like walkthrough. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I mean, there are, but at the same time, like, I mean, I think it happened once to me when I was actually playing, in terms of as I was like, it was during the stamp part of the game. But like, I do kind of think that like what you'll be Googling, none of the puzzles are anything to do with the words Chinatown Detective or Agency, which I think probably helps. Like the stamps that you're looking for the country's origins of, they're not connected to the name quite. So I mean, it has only come up a couple of times, and I have noticed and not clicked those links and, done my own research. It's the one problem with what is a really cool system, an idea of a game that you can use your own, like, investigate. Like, you're a legitimate investigator. Like, you're not doing anything that the person in the game wouldn't be doing in that situation. I've been given this stamp. I'm supposed to return it to the country it's from, and like take it to one of their museums, and figure all this out. And in real life, you'd do that. It's a game that it doesn't hold your hand at all. So like, and it's very specific with what you want to do. Like, to get to any of the countries, you have to go onto the game's flight booking system and check the times of flights compared to where you're at now, to what time it is now, and then arrive at the airport 3 hours before the flight. And if you don't do that, then there's a wait option, so you might have to wait around instead. It's just very unique. It's not what games do, and in some ways, like, the inconvenience of having to book your own flights in a video game might annoy some people. I thought it was quite an interesting thing, but like the idea of you being an investigator who has to Google things, I really do like the idea of. I mean, it's not like it's not a game without its issues. Like, I think the voice acting is pretty universally like shaky, iffy. And like, in terms of, I mean, I've not played a huge amount of it. I've played a few hours, and in terms of like overarching story, it's not really hooked me in that way yet. But like, on a case-to-case basis, like finding out what a quote is from a book or different little things like that by Googling, it's a cool experience. And I've sort of been playing it like semi-co-op with my partner in the background, so like he can be Googling while I'm playing, and we can try and like work together on it, and it works really well for that. It's that sort of narrative and thought-provoking game where bouncing ideas off each other works really well.
I do quite fancy.
I really like
it. It does look.
I mean, yeah, I was about to say that actually. Like,
it's cool.
I hadn't even thought about, because I'm thinking about actually how co-op sounds actually perfect for this game, because otherwise you kind of have to stop playing to do all the Googling.
Yeah, someone else could Google for you.
Whereas actually, if someone's Googling for you and you're going, oh, how about you check that? I've just had that thought. I think it would be.
So they're your bitch, is what you're saying. Yes, they're your bitch, is what you're saying. You're going to do the playing.
You've got to have someone that is passionate about Googling.
Yeah.
But like, if you can find someone, then
an SEO expert. I love it. I love the idea of someone in the background you're going, God, I didn't optimize this. This should be higher in the rank. No, sorry, I'm looking, but you can't switch it off once you turn it on. It's you can't switch this kind of passion off. Oh, Beirut, and then moving on. Like, it's cool. That's cool. Well,
yeah, it's very interesting.
You know what time it is, everybody?
It's time for Chris Hyde's listener correspondence. Still not had anything from Steve. I don't know if he's just doing it on purpose now or what. I
was going to join in with you then, but I was worried I'd sing it's Chris White's listener correspondence then.
Probably would have done.
I'm that sort of that way today that I'm like, I'll just leave it. I'll let him have his moment and not harmonise with him.
No worries. Yeah. I mean, the fact that you think we'd be harmonised is incredible. Like, I cannot
I
sing.
would be. I'm saying I would
you
be.
just harmonised to my
being very clear,
key.
I'd be harmonising to whatever you were singing. I'm just...
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Mick, granted, I don't know, he's gone all tropical on me. Granito, funky, and finito. Like last week, he's given us questions to each of us. So I'll start with Adam's questions.
Okay.
Really simply, thoughts on Crocs?
Careful now.
The shoes.
And I imagine the shoes.
Did we not have enough shoe talk last week?
But he knows this time that the argument...
I forgot that. That's probably why he's asked to get another shoe-related rant.
No shoe rants this week. I don't like Crocs. If I were to wear Crocs, I think my next thing would be also to receive a divorce in the post. So I do not. I'm not a fan of Crocs. Sorry, Lyle, that you're probably wearing them right now. I think he's wearing them right now.
Lyle?
I'm currently wearing Crocs. I wear Crocs.
I'm not
pretty much everywhere I go.
Do you have? I imagine you're a man with a Crocs collection. Do you have any exotic Crocs, like a Pokemon Croc or something?
I don't, because the thing about Crocs, I don't have a Croc collection. Because the thing about Crocs is that after about walking around with them for about 2 or 3 weeks, they've rubbed a hole in the bottom, and you need to get a new pair.
They sound comfortable.
So why do you wear Crocs again?
Yeah.
Well, they only cost $5.
So their main floor.
Is it Crocs that make the one that it's like a glove for your foot? Have you seen them?
Yeah.
They're like literally shaped.
I've seen that.
Feet, toes, and foot shaped.
I've never tried that. I've only ever gone basic Croc, I'm afraid.
Basic Croc. Fair enough.
Okay, so you don't like Crocs?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thoughts on Tomb Raider and Deus Ex's future?
I think they're probably bright, isn't it? I think Square Enix will constantly going on about how, and they do this a lot anyway, that the games haven't hit their sales targets. I think it's quite a bright future, I reckon.
I mean, I think it has to be, otherwise the deal wouldn't have happened, right? Like, I feel like the intent.
Yeah, you don't buy a studio like Crystal Dynamics and Eidos and well, I don't know what they'll be called, but Square Enix Montreal. You don't buy them unless you're going to get them to make some games. I mean,
exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Square Enix Montreal, if I remember correctly, or it might be Eidos. One of those studios has been making kind of mobile games for a while, like the Go games. Square Enix
Montreal. It's the sort of like Hitman Go,
Tomb Raider Go. And there was another one, Deus Ex Go, in fact.
Oh yeah.
And I think there was another one as well, but I can't place it. But yeah, you'd like to think. Because it's weird, because the Tomb Raider reboot was amazing, Rise of the Tomb Raider was amazing, and then Shadow of the Tomb Raider should have been amazing, but they for some reason handed development off to Eidos Montreal, I think it was. Well, I suspect that's when Crystal Dynamics started making Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah.
So it's. I mean, there must be some messiness involved as well, because you think about it, Crystal Dynamics are the developer of Marvel's Avengers. So by the time this wraps up, I can't imagine that the legality of being able to use Marvel is going to transfer with their development studio, which suggests to me that Avengers is finished now, and that's all gone. They're not going to, because they won't be able to work on it anymore because they won't have a license. I don't know. I really don't know. But as for Deus Ex, I hope they come back with a really good game. Someone, but I mean, I don't really know how big Crystal Dynamics has gotten in terms of studio size. We know they're working on a new Tomb Raider. We know they are still working on Avengers. And I believe there's a third project, but I can't think what that is right now. So I think bright, but I do think it could be a little while before we see an awful lot from these studios and these games. You got to remember, they've got Thief as well. Like, Thief's been dormant since like 20... I don't know, was it 13 on Xbox One?
Don't look. All these,
it was an early one.
Making me feel old.
But I mean, I've never been a huge fan of Thief, but I mean, I found it interesting in the statement that Embracer Group said, like, properties like Legacy of Kain, and it's like, I mean, don't mention that if you're not going to do anything with it.
If it's dead,
If you do not have plans to do anything with that, then shut the fuck up, because it's been too long. Like the Soul Reaver games were great. Legacy of Kain was very different, but it was good. Like if you have no plans to do anything with those properties, you've just bought them as part of a package deal, absolutely fine. What I would say is that Embracer Group did THQ, didn't they? They bought THQ's remaining assets and brought them back as they changed from Nordic Games to THQ Nordic, and games come out under THQ again, technically. So I'll be honest with you. I'm never going to sit here and go, I'm a huge fan of corporate takeovers, and it doesn't really matter to people like us. But I would say that what Embracer Group have done with the stuff they've taken us so far gives me a little bit of confidence. Not necessarily that they'll be like 10 out of 10 quadruple A games, but that they probably will do something with the dormant IPs.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they just bought all of them and just went. They seem to use what they've got. Destroy All Humans came back. Stuff like that under THQ Nordic, and so I'd be surprised. We'll see.
Okay. Food-related question, because why not?
Because I'm hungry.
BLT or PBJ or Reuben sandwich? Now I don't know what a Reuben sandwich is.
Oh, well, I was hoping you would.
No.
It's like
I knew Lyle would know. I knew Lyle would know.
I think I'm pretty sure it's like corned beef on rye bread, if I recall. It's very American.
So I've got it up here. The Reuben sandwich is a North American grilled sandwich. So already I'm like, okay. Composed of corned beef. Okay. Swiss cheese. Yep. Sauerkraut. I don't think I've ever had it. And $1,000 dressing or Russian dressing. Grilled between slices of rye bread. It's associated with the kosher-style delicatessens, but it's not kosher because it combines meat and cheese. I mean, yeah.
Amazing.
Well, I wouldn't eat about BLT if you paid me. Because I don't like
why? Because it's got bacon in it.
Tomato.
Oh, okay.
And you can take the tomato out, but you never quite get rid of the taste of it, and it also still remains a little bit wet. If you're making a BLT without putting the tomato in,
tomatoes in sandwiches can do when
don't be putting tomato in the sandwich.
I agree with that.
So I would probably not have that. PBJ or peanut butter and jam for those watching. I like the peanut butter part. My wife and my kids like the PB and the J. I don't think it needs the J. The PB's enough for me, so I probably wouldn't. And the Reuben sandwich. Probably the Reuben sandwich, and I just hope I like sauerkraut because
it's quite nice.
Yeah, I like the rest of the stuff in there. So I think with the cheese and the corned beef, it would probably be quite salty. But I'm up for it. I'm up for it with the toasting and the grilled, and the rye bread. I must admit, looking at pictures of a Reuben sandwich, I'm looking at it and going, "Poor bloody hell, I am hungry. Why do we do a podcast at dinner time?" So probably that. Reuben sandwich, I guess.
Cool. I do mine next because the order he's asked them. So he's asked me, without getting into spoilers and being as vague as possible, that's my jam, what do you think of the last third of Tales of Arise? So I think I know what he's getting at here in terms of the story. I really enjoyed it. No surprise. I really like Tales of Arise. I think if you're invested in the characters and their character arcs, it's really, really strong. I've heard some people say that they didn't like some of the stuff at the end as much. I think that's probably because they do what some what some kind of stories do, where because you have to hold back reveals so you don't show your hand too early in a story, that then becomes a bit of a exposition sort of dump near the end to try and say, and now this and this and this, and now let's do the end game. They do a bit of that to try and show you the hand a little bit, but late enough so there's still suspense throughout the story. And I heard some people say they don't like that as much. I still think it lands, and I think, like I say, the character developments are very strong in this game. So I really liked it. Like I said, Shion in particular is really well done. So yeah, I really liked it. But
do you want me to ask you the question so you're not literally asking yourself a question?
If you think that Chris Hyde's listener correspondence would flow better if someone else asked me my questions, then
I think
by all
rather
means.
Than you ask yourself, so do you want to play Total War Warhammer 3? And did you check any of the Three Kingdoms DLCs barring the Furious Wild?
So I have already played Total War Warhammer 3.
You have, haven't you?
If you go on the site, you'll see some fantastic guides written by a certain Chris Hyde to help you figure out the differences between the various factions in that game. So I've already played it. So that answers that question. I already have. Did I check out any of the Three Kingdoms DLCs, barring the Furious Wild? Yes. There's about 4 of them that I think I reviewed for the site. So there's various reviews up on the site. I'm just reminding myself of their names. A World Betrayed, I did. Mandate of Heaven, and 8 Princes DLCs, as well as the main game and Furious Wild, which Mick says. So yes, so I played a lot of them and enjoyed most of them. I think most of them are excellent and some of them are good, as you will see by reading the reviews.
Given that this is temporarily Adam Cook's listener correspondence, I don't want any long-winded answers. I need you to be Mr. In Courtroom, wink, here. And would just give me an answer. What is your favourite co-op game on console right now?
Astroneer.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I was going to say easy. Hang on, but no, you're quite right. Yeah, No?
Or FIFA.
It Takes Two.
Right now, I took it to mean as in you're playing it right now. So
yeah, so same here. So Astroneer or FIFA, but Astroneer was the one that came to mind.
Yeah. No, fair. Okay, and I'll just hand you back the reins, Chris.
Okay, so back to Chris Hyde, listener correspondence.
Didn't need a second one, but okay.
What's that?
I don't think we needed a second theme tune, but it's...
it's not your part of the show, so shut up.
No, I've allowed
the ESRB, the ESRB ratings for Legends Arceus. I still don't know if that's Arceus or Arceus.
It's Arceus.
BDSP. Am I having a mind?
Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl.
Point to both getting paid DLC in some form. What would you like them to add as this paid DLC or expansions?
Okay, well, I didn't play Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, so I'd like them to add the ability for people who don't own the game to play it for free by downloading the expansion.
Via paid DLC.
By paid DLC. You pay for the DLC and it's...
So you want like the game and the DLC for like 20 quid?
That's not free,
at most.
Well, I'm guessing he's paying for the DLC.
Yeah, okay.
Isn't this thing about the what's the thing called where you can transfer Pokemon in and out of games?
Oh, like
isn't
Pokemon,
that what this is referring to? Yeah, like the Pokemon Bank, because you have to pay for a subscription on that, don't you?
Yeah,
you had to. You have to buy the thing. Is that not what this is? Am I getting the wrong? I thought it's a bit like includes downloadable content. It could be it could be anything, but I feel like that's what this was. The thing that you pay for it to allow you to. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
but that's what I took it to be.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't really know. I played Arceus and enjoyed it, but I haven't really thought about it since, and I haven't really kept up with
That's fair.
The nitty gritty. But if I'm gonna say, I guess if I'm gonna also answer if there's paid DLC for Arceus, I mean more of it. Yeah. Like to be more of it, more varied. Yeah, another area, and the other area to be quite like densely packed with new Pokemon. I don't really want a Pokemon from old areas.
If you open up a new area and it's just Bidoofs, I'll be like
Doofs and Starlies.
Amazing. That would be amazing. A new little map bit and everything's Bidoof.
Actually, yeah, that's actually my new answer. I think it can have 2 areas. It can have 2 areas, and it can for the paid DLC. But to get to the second one, that's full of all the amazing, exciting Pokemon everyone loves, you have to play like 10 hours of Bidoof Island.
Bidoof's up inside you, finding an entrance where they can.
Yeah.
Okay, Lyle, favorite thing to eat with coffee in the morning.
Okay.
This could be weird for you, right?
I just sort of eat anything at any time.
That's what I mean. So if this question was to me and Adam, I think it'd be more standard. But for you, this could be.
I think so. Right now, I'm just gonna say I'd really like a cheese twist from Co-op. It's like sort of like
the pastry ones. You mean
the pastry ones? Yeah.
Big.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always really liked them. There was a time where no matter any time I went past a Co-op, I always got a cheese twist, and that's why I am the way I am now.
Yeah,
so
I had a problem with them when they first started doing them.
Would you just warm it up a little bit?
I find they overbake a lot of them though. Now,
yeah,
is that just me or just R1? They feel like they've been in there just a little bit too long.
Right, really.
Yeah,
but like
really
when you
sad.
get the right sort and it's fresh.
Yeah,
perfect. That's what I'd have with my coffee. That's my answer, I guess.
It's a great answer. It's a great answer.
Favorite Final Fantasy game soundtrack?
That's a tough one. I think it's a toss-up between 9 and if I'm going to say 7, it's 7 Remake, because I really think they smashed the soundtrack on that.
Yeah, totally.
It was just like, it was pure magic, and they really they brought the nostalgia while also kind of making it more epic. And yeah, it's probably 7 Remake, I think that's just the answer.
I would agree. Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard to find a bad Final Fantasy soundtrack, really, to be honest.
That's fair.
Also true.
And then finally, the question we're all thinking for you, Lyle, when are you going to play Elden Ring, you heathen?
Well, I'm going to play it. I have to play it before the end of the year. Otherwise, there's literally no point in being on the podcasts.
Yeah.
So I do have to play it. I will say I've got sort of a list of games that I'm very, very slowly working my way through to, be keeping up for GOTY time. And Elden Ring's one of the ones I'm least excited to actually play, because I've never gotten into a Souls game before, or equivalent. I kind of liked Bloodborne, but I was playing it on stream, and there was someone who was a friend in the chat who just kept telling me exactly what to do, and it got very boring very quickly. So I think I don't necessarily think the genre is not for me, and I'm definitely going to play it, but it's not quite as exciting to me as, for example, I've not played Horizon yet this year, or Ghostwire Tokyo, which I think is just from a developer I think are very interesting and definitely sounds very different. So it's hard to say, oh, I'm going to rush to play it really soon, but I definitely will play it. But yeah, I'm not quite there yet.
Okay. And then the Real Captain Redemption asks for our final question. Would you all rather see a remake of the original or a brand new Deus Ex entry?
That's such a hard question because
It's really easy for me, but
okay. You go first then.
Well, my answer would be the same for any game, really. I'd rather see a new entry in any series. If I could choose, that's not to say I don't go a bit giddy when there are certain announcements of remakes of certain games that I like. Yeah. But if I had to ever choose, I would say I want an amazing new entry in a series than going over old ground. In any, even my most beloved games, I would still want a new entry in the series over a remake. And so that would be the same for this.
You're right, that was easy.
I think enough time's passed now that I would like a reimagining. So a reboot, a bit like what I believe they're doing with Perfect Dark. I think the world's changed, and I don't think Adam Jensen's character works. So I don't think you can kind of just make another one. I get it; he's supposed to be sort of almost inhuman because of the augmentations. I don't think it works as well. I think you have to do a bit of a kind of a God of War or a reimagining, not change the gameplay necessarily how the game plays, but I think it needs, I sort of somewhere in between, like a new one, but a kind of rebooted reimagining for me. So
yeah, I think the reason I find this more of a struggle is I've played through the original Deus Ex 20 times probably. It's absolutely one of those all-time favorite, just a game that really, really clicks with me, and I love so many things about the mechanics. And I do find it kind of sad that people who are wanting to play it in current times, I just don't think it would age well enough.
No, not at all.
At all, because it's a very old game at this point. But by that same token, I also just don't really think a remake would, no matter how good it was, quite hit as hard and as good as a really good new entry. If they made a really, really good new entry, I think it would be more exciting than a remake. But yeah, it's one where I struggle a little bit just because that first game is a masterpiece. It's an amazing, amazing game. And yeah, it's one that it would be nice to be able to play slightly modernized, but yeah, it's still a new entry in it. Yeah, decided.
New entry. In one. Yeah. No? Okay.
Well, that's the end of Chris Hyde's Listener Correspondence
Third for this fucking week. Time.
Wow.
Well, if you enjoyed Chris Hyde's listener correspondence or anything we do on godisageek.com and you're watching the video version of this podcast, hit the pause button now and look just down there. There's a little message for you. And essentially it's to tell you that you can support us by going to patreon.com/godisageek and you can support everything we do. Everything we do. And it goes directly to the people on this podcast. It supports us. There's fresh articles going up. There's a new exclusive podcast starting... well, if you're watching this live, it's next week. If you're watching the archive, it's probably a day or two after this. But you have to be a Patreon to hear that. That's the only way that's going to be heard for anyone. It's on there, unless like people stick up in the Pirate Bay. Like I say, it's the internet, lovely place. But yeah, we really do appreciate your support. And if you can't, times are tough. Jesus Christ, we all know. If you can't do that, just a like or a share or just telling your friend about this great podcast you listen to helps us out enormously. Or particularly, yeah, you've seen this review, I really enjoyed it. Go and look at it. Or just a comment. All these things help us. Don't be the guy that thinks, or girl, that thinks, oh, no, it won't make no difference. It will. Like one person just saying something nice, for example, we do look at them and we do think, and it's like, it's nice. It makes you feel good. Feels you feel like what you're doing is worth something. It's always nice to have positive reinforcement. And on that note, Chris and Lyle, you've been wonderful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And to everybody else, we will speak to you next week or whenever you choose to listen. Bye-bye for now.